World Card Game Federation here with another local match. We're going to have Chris taking on James. Not to be that guy, but I did Vince McMahon this thing for quite a while in terms of overhyping it. You know, I was doing the at WrestleMania kind of thing. But, you know, the Dabura Nappa showdown. Ends up not going quite the way that we, you'd expect. And I hate to say it, we also didn't quite get the finish recorded as it should, but I'll basically tell you what happened. So my apologies, anybody who's about to view this video and is thinking of leaving in the comment section how we didn't quite seem to have a correct finish. We are well aware of that, and I apologize. There were other factors going on in this particular meeting. Okay. Looks like James is going to go ahead and go first. You guys know this one, of course. It's Saiyan, Oppressive Nappa. He gets King Vegeta out turn 1, which is an excellent, excellent ally. You know, this one, of course, is going to let him be able to prevent damage from a physical attack. It's pretty darn handy. James apparently is going to go ahead and power up his characters, or excuse me, his personalities. He's going to go ahead and pass and rejuvenate. I think I saw a wall breaker in his hand. I could be wrong. He rejuvenates a Saiyan style card. My apologies, I did not make it out what it was, and I think that's actually me pulling up next to James there. Neat. Okay, he goes back over to Chris. Chris pulls out some really nice looking stuff, but it's kind of mid-game material here. He's going to go ahead and pass and rejuvenate Devilish Sword Slash or Dabura Sword Slash. I hate to say they all look the same. Okay, he goes back over to James. James draws what I think are 3 attacks, or I'm not sure if he's feeling confident enough to want to run in and start attacking. Maybe he would. This particular showdown, like you said, was one of my favorites. It did not go exactly as I was expected. Kind of an interesting thing to have happen like that. Okay, and then it goes over to, let's see, James powers up. Let's see if he's going to do it. James does not like the look of it after all, and he is going to go ahead and pass and rejuvenate. He puts Android Arm Breaker to his bottom of his life deck. Good idea. Put his endurance back in the deck, because you know how that goes. Chris here should probably power up. He's going to go into combat. Not sure if he's going to do the banish. He is going to declare combat. He's going to use when entering with the mastery. Go ahead and banish for red Ruthless. So remember, all of his attacks do +2 stages and hit lower anger. He uses Dabura's when entering combat, looks at the top 5, grabs a sword card, and he does. He ends up grabbing a Devilish Sword Slash, which is a really fun one. You remember that one's going to see a lot of action here, doing a lot of damage. I guess really the only way to avoid taking a bunch of damage is for James to here go ahead and draw a tie. I don't remember if that actually happens, but that's what I would want to say.
Lower your anger 2 levels, and then if I discard a card, then sword.
Okay, so just explaining the card. You're a physical attack with 5 stages. You may discard a card from your hand to draw a card. If it's sword, your opponent loses. Excuse me, if it has sword in the name, your opponent loses 4 power stages. Very effective for pouring on the damage when the opponent's wide open. Okay, James is going to go ahead and draw his cards for the when entering. Okay. Chris is going to go ahead and chuck one of the sword cards, use it, make James lose 4 power stages, lower James' anger 2 levels, and it's a 5-stage physical if it hits. I'm not sure if James is going to take it, or if he's going to... I'm not sure if King Vegeta can be used at this point. All of a sudden I'm forgetting how to activate his effect. Okay, he's going to have the 5 stages knocked off of King Vegeta. He's officially at 0. And Chris is going to go ahead and put that in the discard. It goes back over to James. James' response here is going to be to go ahead and throw, I want to say that's what, Saiyan right kick or something like that. Life me, I cannot remember it, but it's the one that lets him search out an ally. Really effective card for Saiyan style. You think you'd see it a bit more often. You guys know, of course, the long-term plan is to go ahead and get out several different allies who help to beef up attacks and basically create giant knockout hits. Okay, and it's 5 power stages. Chris takes his damage. You remember, of course, your first styled attack causes the opponent to skip. And it's going to go ahead and skip. And it's going to go back over to... Oh, James prefers not to gain the anger from that raised anger. He gains stages instead. I'd do it. He's going to almost finish shuffling his deck there.
Got 4 stages left?
And James here has a chance to respond since he had the action skipped. Excuse me, Chris's action got skipped.
Let's go ahead and we'll do Mastery.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and use his Mastery. He's going to rejuvenate the bottom card of his discard pile because, of course, the top card of the style. And he's going to make Chris lose 2 power stages. It looks like
Everything in the world. Okay, what's that?
it's going to raise his anger 1 level with this particular card, and it's going to go ahead and
5 stages. Hit.
it's a hit search. I assume James has a block here because you really wouldn't want to let Chris get away with chaining at this point. He's going to stop it with Arm Catch, a very wise idea. He's going to raise his anger 1 level from the effect. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what James' response is going to be here. Without time in his hand or some other big play, he's going to go ahead and pitch an Android Arm Breaker on Chris. Now, the damage boost should be there. Okay, it still attaches, but Chris throws up a red physical block. Like we can't remember it. If it gets banished, it raises his anger. Okay, so Chris has a couple of different options here. He can pulverize, and he can do Devilish Sword Slash. Okay, he uses pulverize. He banishes James' discard pile because he had 2 cards in there in the whole thing. And he's going to go ahead through AT plus 3 physical.
AG plus 3. B. I'm in 3,000. So. Yeah.
Are they both B to B?
So B to B, so D1, so D4 stages? 4 stages.
4 stages. And this, of course, is just being added because we have a real strong tendency to forget to actually use the effect of pulverize at the end of combat.
Nappa.
He throws Nappa's physical attack. Ends up doing, what, 3 power stages? No, more than that because he's got all the different boosts in play.
2 3.
Oh, Paradrills fell out right there. No good. Chris has a Devilish Sword Slash in his hand. I just hold on to it, to be honest.
Oh, I didn't even get to use Vegeta? Is that what you called me?
No, and I forgot the top part of his discard pile is unfortunately nothing he can use as a combo or as a counter attack. So I think this particular combat should be outdone out of basic out of actions. No, apparently he's going to go ahead and take a little bit of damage. Ouch.
Okay. Do you not have that Dragon Ball yet?
Not sure what's going on here. Ow. DB7 goes to the bottom. Ends up getting crit. That is definitely 5 life cards. Ow. That's a hit. And then some.
This one? Oh, no, I mean, no, Chris's.
Oh.
Did you count for endurance? Does it have endurance? No.
Red drink. No, red
Sorry, I think I'm talking about this.
Okay.
I think Chris is the right idea. You really are not going to want to press that advantage at this point. Let's see. Okay, Chris does remember to resolve the effect from Pulverize. He's going to go ahead and float good old red sword stab to the top. Really wise idea. Okay, waiting for James to go ahead and cut.
Throw that away.
I think Chris here has to remember that he needs to put that on top of you. There's a little bit of, don't put stuff in your hand kind of thing. But it's nothing major. Nothing got out of
At
hand.
this point,
Okay, James, of course, is going to go ahead and pass. He's powered up all of his allies and his main personality. Passes, rejuvenates a Saiyan-style card. My apologies, didn't see which one it is. Goes back to Chris. Chris here has, like we said, an excellent hand if he can hold on to it for long enough. He put a drill into play. I want to say that that's the one that turns off the endurance, which is actually really interesting. Helps to even up the odds pretty quick. Now, Chris here has an excellent hand. It's just like maybe 1 or 2 cards shy of what he needs it to be. Fortunately, he doesn't get the when entering for banishing because it's not styled.
yeah, that is the thing.
I'm not sure. Okay, he's going to go ahead and resolve
Yep, you your when entry first.
Dabura's level 1, search the top 5.
It's like he has.
Unfortunately, that wouldn't work, would it? No. If good old, what is it? Aggressive Sword Drill came into play, it wouldn't work. Okay, he's going to get the, I want to say, what is that one? Red Sword Strike. It comes out of set 10. Life Man can't remember it. We figured out it's good for banishing a drill, pulling out a drill to kind of link all your stuff together and basically keep pressing your advantage by banishing one of the red drill. All of a sudden I can't think of a slicing drill. Okay. He opens up with good old Devilish Sword Slash, an excellent move.
4 stages, and then it'll be 5.
Okay, and looks like old James there is going to go ahead and take that mean old damage from it. A really, really rough hit, I think.
Pizza.
Okay, let's see. James is throwing, I want to say that's that one physical attack that was in pull out an ally. I can't seem to remember what it's named again.
I need more dice. I need more dice! So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
A 10-stage physical. And at this particular level, that could be devastating.
5, 6, 7.
Ouch. He does take the hit, unfortunately, and he does get critted. It takes critical damage from the hit, and he is going to go ahead and crit down his anger. Looks like Chris might have overestimated and accidentally drew one too many cards on the damage there on the flip. He's got to make sure to crit his anger down a bit.
So I guess I'll game.
I'm hoping here one of them remembers to go ahead and crit down
Does it have to be?
Chris's anger.
It's whenever I make you skip. Oh, yeah, I can make anyone. Well, you're right. I'll make. Yeah, we'll make.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and gain the stages rather than gain the anger. So it's going to go ahead and skip Chris's action because that was the first style. It's going to go back to James. James throws down good old Saiyan Rescue. On the initial usage, he does go ahead and get to rejuvenate top card of his discard pile. Not too terrible.
Or is it the master?
No. Just use Saiyan Rescue. Oh. When you attach it, you don't touch
Okay, and it looks like Chris is going to respond with Red Sword Stab, which is actually pretty neat. He raises anger, of course. I'm pretty sure that Chris should actually be at 3 anger at this point because he should have had that lowered from a crit, so let's just keep that in mind.
No.
Okay, Vegeta prevents all the damage, and on the hit, Chris is going to go ahead and level from the hit effect. Going off from Dabura's level 1, he's going to go to level 2. He should remember, of course, that his discard pile, his drill should be on the top of his discard pile. Chris, remember to discard your drill.
Oh, your drill's.
There we go.
I know what I'm doing.
I don't believe you do.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and attack with Back Crash. Really excellent card, underrated and then some. Really a powerful card. He just lost all his power stages in one shot, and he still has the dashing sword attack, which is going to be nigh impossible to use at this point, given his limited resources. So his best bet is to go ahead and probably pitch it and then use it for the mastery. Okay, he lowers his anger 2 levels, throws Devilish Sword Slash.
Not the one that you hit in a search.
Or, excuse me, Dabura's Sword Slash. Okay, he stops it with Arm Catch, so he narrowly avoided a mean hit. Unfortunately, that is a bit of a dead card in Chris's hand. He can't even activate the Mastery to go ahead and do that. He's going to go ahead and take damage from the level 1 physical, which is pretty rough. He's going to throw a Dabura Power.
5 stages.
That's going to go ahead and hit him. He's going to pull out, and the correct card to pull out so he can ditch the heroic dashing sword, or excuse me, dashing sword attack.
Nappa, 5 stages.
Which ally?
Okay, 5 stages back.
I don't have to. No, it's one of your opponent's allies.
Oh, it is.
It does not say.
Here's the level 1 Nappa. I don't know where I got that idea. They just kills an ally. It actually specifically targets an enemy ally. Makes sense. Okay. Chris takes his damage. He's going to go and Devilish Sword Slash, make James run mill 4. He gets to draw a card for the effect, which isn't too bad. And it'll be 5 stages and a life card.
Rescue.
So it actually should be 6 stages. Wait, did I just see James just block that? Okay, and then the hit, skip, physical block, I cannot remember if it was set 10. And then looks like Chris is going to go ahead and throw Pulverize. He gets to go ahead and filter out a little bit of James' discard pile and the banish for that one. And any 3 cards in the discard pile, any 2 cards, excuse me, get to get banished. So these are going to leave the game. And to be 3 power stages.
3. Or 1, so 3 left. 2.
Oh, wow. I think I just saw Time as a Warrior's Tool just fall right out of the deck.
Okay, I'm done too.
Okay, and that one is over.
You fought through like 25 power stages worth of.
I was just making a bit of an observation that, oh, great. So now James has Visiting the Past into play, an excellent card to draw at this point. Now that he has a discard pile that has a few very important cards in it at this point, it basically will get him a get out of jail free card. if good old Chris should try to press any kind of advantage. Also, Chris really should be resolving that pulverize at this point. There's really no reason not to. It would not change the game state for him to do it, even though it's a little late. I think he's going to go and pass up doing that. Oh no, he's going to put it into play. Good old aggressive sword drill. And if I was Chris, I'd just keep the physical block, enjoy it, and then pass or rejuvenate, whatever the heck card this is. There we go. Right punch. All right, and that is going to go ahead and end Chris's turn. A very wise idea. He's got a couple of different key items there that would help out. Okay, Chris is remembering he did not do his pulverize in the combat stuff, which would have been helpful and might have turned the tide. And you guys, I'm sure you know that in that kind of situation, had this been a high-level tournament, provided it was not near the very end, he would have gotten a warning, but not necessarily been disqualified for missing a mandatory effect. Okay, so James here has got a pretty promising-looking hand. If I was him, I probably would have... oh, he's going to go... Oh my gosh, he's going on offense. He's going to go ahead and grab Time as a Warrior's Tool with Visiting the Past. Going to put a card to the bottom.
You know, I have time in here too, and never used to do that.
It's kind of funny, some cards are never make it out of this. They're not even...
Okay, we're waiting for Chris to go and resolve his one entering. He gets to go ahead and pull one. If I was him, I'd grab some Red Sword Staff. Basically, you should see that card recycled quite a bit in this deck if everything is going according to plan. Deck's cut. And then James can go ahead, excuse me, Chris can go ahead and draw his cards.
It's Nappa for 5 stages.
Ouch. Chris ends up taking light damage from Nappa's level 1 attack. Okay. Goes back over to Chris, because Chris is not forced to skip because that was not a style attack. He's going to go and raise the anger 1 level. And time, our favorite thing in the whole world, is up. Okay, and Unleashed is going to go ahead and make an appearance. And it's going to go ahead and allow him to search for an attached card. He's already got 1 attached card on. Oh, and our favorite. Saiyan Clinch is now attached.
Which, if you remember, has a hit effect.
Now, James here really doesn't have much of an obligation to jump to any particular level, but I just assume he's going to jump from level 1 to level 3.
The hits and vanishes, right?
Yep. Finish your learning.
So not a bad idea at all.
I'm never going to see this again. Never see any kind of anger ever again.
Okay, that was his action. It's going to go back over to Chris.
I'm just going to pass.
Maybe use Dabura's power?
Yeah. Another bottom.
Oh, he's waiting for James to go ahead and throw another attack. Stop it with good old fist catch, jump up a level. That is actually a very wise strategy. I can't even knock him. James is going to go ahead and throw Key Web. Key Web's going to rejuvenate the top card of his life deck. It'll be 4 life cards. And just so happens, Red Brace was actually extraordinarily useful. And I believe that card actually rejuvenates after it's used. Yes, it do. Okay, that was an awfully close one. So, okay, he's going to go ahead and use, what, Dabura's level 2 power? Raise his anger 1 level, and he's now level 3 Dabura. And aggressive swordplay drill is going to leave the game. Or leave the discard pile, leave play is what I mean to say. And then, of course, it bounces off of time. And then James is going to go and activate the Mastery. Chris loses 2 power stages on main personality from Oppressive Mastery. Goes back over to Chris. Now, see, at this point, you guys, I'm starting to get one of those feelings, you know, that one where you're like, okay, I have to now radically change my strategy. Unfortunately, oh, okay. He's going to go ahead and use level 3 Dabura's power. He got some Rejuvenator card in his own discard pile. And then, of course, banish a card in his opponent's discard pile. So that's pretty sweet. And he's going to go ahead and banish whatever random energy block that is. I don't know why Chris bothered.
Well, I'm doing it twice. But actually, shouldn't. Yeah, choose a card in your discard pile, rejuvenate, choose 3 cards. Yeah. I just chose the bottom. Yeah, no, I just realized.
So we have an opportunity here for James to respond. Let's see what he has up his sleeve.
That's alright. It says rescue. It says you can use this attack again, is what it says.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and rejuvenate a targeted card with the effect of Saiyan Rescue. And it goes back over to Chris.
Okay.
And he throws Dabura's level 3 power again, so he gets to go ahead and rejuvenate a card and then banish the remainder of James's discard pile, so James is aware. Okay. And this particular card with its flat stage damage. Ooh, and he stops it with Blocking Hand. I hope Chris remembers to go ahead and raise his power stages because he doesn't usually need to. Just like that. Okay, and now Chris has a chance to respond, but there's no point because this is one of those situations where he can't do any damage. There's not really much reason to keep pressing an advantage. And that is the end of the combat. It goes back over to Chris. Chris at this point is in a pretty decent spot to be able to do things. He does play DB7. It does make it into play, and he's going to go ahead and place 3 cards. James, of course, is probably should have waited for the destruction for his deck, but he's going to go ahead and do it. I would have. Gee, if I was Chris, I'd throw 2 Blocking Hands and a Swordplay Drill. Yeah, I just go 2 Blocking Hands, Swordplay Drill. Yeah, that's what I did. All right. Those are excellent cards to go ahead and put in. They should just go to the top. There it goes. Okay, and DB7 has been played. I'm not really sure if Chris wants to go in on this. It's not a spectacular hand. It would actually undo some of what happened. He could do Red Restriction, but it might not be quite enough to be able to get at some of the cards he placed on the top of the deck with ball 7. Okay, Chris does, when enter, he does go ahead and use Red Restriction. He draws the top 2 cards of his discard pile. He has to discard a card, and he does. He keeps one of the red blocking hands.
Can't use any. You can't attack or pass.
And everybody must attack or pass at this point, which is kind of neat.
Okay.
James has his cards ready to rock.
Got the best hand for him to.
And then Chris is going to go ahead and throw Red Sword Stab. It's going to raise his anger 1 level automatically.
How much would it be? Actually, you know what? I don't even know because I can't prevent it. Cool. So yeah, how much would it be? Where's your 18?
Goodness. I want to say level 3 Dabura is turning off Endurance at this point.
Yep. Yes. Okay. Yes, I did.
So make it plus some damage, of course, with the Mastery having to use upon entering combat.
8 stages? 19. And no prevention. Only pass for attack.
We'll see what James has to respond here.
And can't prevent any choice. So 10. Cool.
He's going to go ahead and take that hit.
When you got hit lower your level, it doesn't matter much.
Nappa for 18 stages.
Wow. Nappa, 18 power stages, all the pluses in play. Stops it with Red Blocking Hand. That's going to go ahead and jump up to level 4 because he had 3 anger as it was.
All your opponent's personalities lose 2 stages when I attack with this. That's going to suck. It's alright. My go? Yep.
Ooh, he throws a Red Sword Stab, and I believe he's going to get to go ahead and use Dabura's level 4 power. It lets him go ahead and search.
Cool. Thank you, Skip.
I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it because I don't quite recall what the level 4 power was. Oh yeah, sitting on the left there next to Chris's good old job.
So, Skip goes back to me. Since you skipped.
Okay. Action skipped.
You took 2 off of him too? Yeah, I milled 2. So... Oh, gain 2 stages.
Forced to skip.
That's not how it works? No, you can't because you can't restriction. Oh, you can't.
Genuinely forgot.
With a restriction in play, you could unfortunately cannot use the mastery for duplication. Kind of stinks.
Go ahead and pass.
Okay, and that combat ends. It looks like with good old restriction in play. Unfortunately, Chris was not able to capitalize using his level 4 power to go and keep the pain train rolling.
No, if you have more than 3.
James places another Visiting the Past into play. It's not bad at all. And then King Vegeta has a power stage as well as Vegeta have power stages apiece. So not too terrible. Nappa powers up just a tad.
Oh, yeah.
just double checking his power stages, making sure everything's correct.
Oh, yeah,
No.
no. She got 6.
Oh, you're right. I'm used to being at level 1. I'm used to being on level 1.
James spends most games in level 1. This particular build it neither needs to nor consistently levels. At least, in most ways. So, okay, goes back over to Chris. Chris puts cover drill into play. And he's going to go ahead and pass and rejuvenate Dabura Sword Slash. Very excellent idea. Sadly, if he enters combat decides to use it, he'd banish one of his red sword stab. Okay, James begins his setup, planning step, by
It isn't
most likely going to put a Saiyan and Rage into play.
I think you already know what I'm going to do with it.
Sorry, experienced some mild technical difficulties there. We actually lost the feed here for my commentary for just a few seconds. James, of course, is going to go ahead and continue. He's going to go ahead and use the mastery. He's going to go ahead and draw and discard.
Yeah, let's go in. So I'm going to...
He's going to go ahead and draw and discard. Okay, he ends up pitching Saiyan and Rage. Not a bad idea. Makes a slightly better hand.
I'm going to visit.
And then he is going to go ahead and proactively, offensively use Visiting the Past. He's going to go ahead and grab a card, and then some other card is going to go ahead and need to go to the bottom of his life deck. I've actually toyed for quite a while with the strategy of using a completely bizarre strategy as far as whenever he's using the past. Offensively, to choose to put the card that I drew from the bottom purposely back to the bottom of my life deck to give my opponent a fake out for the entire combat.
Yep.
Okay, so Chris gets to go ahead and draw his cards in advance, in response.
So 5.
He throws a fairly substantial looking hand. Excellent idea. This is a toughie. He has to play a red blocking hand. Sadly, that'll lock him out from using the mastery to be able to go and throw a red sword stab back as a response. He's going to raise his anger 2 levels, gain some power stages. Unfortunately, it is style that makes Chris skip. And it goes back over to James. James does back crash.
Because I have to resolve all my immediate effects first. So I rejuvenate this, and when this card's rejuvenated, I can
Ooh,
dash
nice.
instead to do a critical effect. So you're at 3.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and crit Chris's anger down 1 level.
Okay. Cool. Also 7.
Okay, so it took 7 life cards. Wow. He's doing critical damage. He's able to go ahead and steal DB7. He's going to go ahead and pick 3 of the cards from his own discard pile, place on top of his life deck. Chris has already paid for his 3.
Block it with your... So you have to banish the top 2 cards of your life deck.
Oh, wow. He's going to use another Saiyan Key Web. Do a pretty decent job hitting poor Chris. Chris is double checking his discard pile content. He's going to use Dabura's level 4 power to go ahead and grab red sword stab outright.
I'll attack with Nappa.
Chris is getting this one. He's going to go ahead and shuffle with red duck. He gets to not shuffle. I want to say place 3. I don't think it's shuffle 3.
26.
It's not bad because it's X. That's oh great. He's going to go ahead and red sword stab. Now all he has to do is keep from taking a little bit of life card damage here, and he's got his discard pile slightly out of order with red duck. There we go. Every time he throws a sword card, he's going to make his opponent lose 2 stages, or lose 2 stages. Chris,
I block it.
Okay, he's going to go ahead and throw Saiyan Interruption.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
22
11,
power stages. So he takes 10 off himself. He has to weather the storm. I'm not really sure how much endurance his deck would have to be able to take such a gigantic monster hit, especially this late in the game. Yep, Chris is running into some endurance, not inconceivable. He does end up weathering all 22 power stages. Does an amazing job of hanging in there. If you guys take a look at Chris's anger, he's already at 4 anger on level 5. But he took a critical damage anyway. He's going to lower it to 3. I don't know if he wants to do this. He can go ahead.
Mastery?
Oh gosh, ends up using the mastery. Mills Chris 2. Okay, and then James uses Saiyan Rescue.
I pass it.
Okay, and combat actually ends before any decisive or definitive blow is struck. You guys, we're coming up here on the end of the match, and I just need to make this clear. The actual finish of the match is not on tape, but I can explain what happened there. There was actually a Dragon Ball Super event that was playing this very same evening. Okay, now Chris actually has a pretty good couple of items here for this. It's just kind of a close one. He is probably going to declare combat, and he's probably going to go ahead and open up with a... okay, he does declare combat. He banishes that particular card from the top of the discard pile. He's going to go ahead and open up with red restriction. He gets to go ahead and draw 2 cards and discard a card, and in his hand is basically an instant win. I don't blame him. He drops the set 10 sword card, and that is all of Chris's win enterings. James gets to go ahead and draw 3 cards in response, and James has the opening move. James, I keep saying that. Chris has the opening move.
Nope.
Oh no, he went into combat and actually shot himself in the foot because with red restriction he's not able to do any duplicating with the mastery. He made a grave error.
Just want to take it.
Oh, okay. Now, James here actually had the right idea. Unfortunately, everybody passed. The combat ended. He ended up keeping it in his hand. Basically, James could have kept trying to, not take that red blocking hand, lose the game. But in reality, Chris was probably going to get 1 or 2 actions with the mastery or not, and then eventually hit MPPV. It was probably 1 or 2 actions. So we're going to go ahead and count that as an MPPV victory for Dabura. Kind of not the ending you'd expect.